Hi again. Let's continue talking about WordPress, and we've been working on the post here, right? And we set up our post, and we've got these post classes. And what else? What else can we do with the content of the post? Well, the first thing we can do is we can give class names to the elements inside here. Like we have the title, we have the content, and then we have the date and the meta information here. So, if you want to arrange this, maybe I'll remove this comment right here. And maybe for the title, maybe I want to use an H1 instead of an H3. And, if you really want to get super detailed here, you could, wrap this in the header tag also. Right, I'm going to leave that out, but maybe I want this H1 right here to be the post title, but I'm going to wrap it in a div so I can, oops, I forgot the V there, right? So if I'm going to wrap this in a div, and then maybe I can, put a color behind it or do something with it, right? Or a background image or something, right? And maybe this div right here, I'll give it a class name. And what I like to do is, since all this stuff is inside a post, right? So this is all a post. I like to name my class names, based on, the context, right? So everything that's in a post, I'm going to call it post dash, title or something like that, right? And then maybe this div maybe this thing right here, the content down here, I'll add a div like this, and I'll close it here. Right, it's important that I close that. And notice how I format everything, right? I find that's the most helpful thing I do for myself, is that I format everything, and it makes it easy to read, and I can spot a missing tag. If that happens, I can spot it very easily. So maybe this div right here, which is going to surround the content, maybe I'll call this class post content. There we go. And then I know that the content is going to happen in here. Okay. And then at the bottom right here, maybe I'll make another div here. And I'll close it and make sure I carefully close it. And then I'll format, right? I'll make sure that these guys are all tabbed once because they're inside of a parent element, right? And then maybe this thing down here, I'll give it a class name of, post meta, okay? And there we go, right? So I got everything styled there. These changes aren't really going to show up on the page, right? So we won't actually see those. But we could style these now using our style sheet. And, there's nothing wrong with you moving these things around too. So, if I like the post title here, but maybe I want to see the date underneath the title, then I can move the date up here like this and put it underneath the title, and that's okay, And maybe, maybe I want to put the comments up there too, or I mean the categories, right? So maybe I want to do the categories also underneath the title like that. All right, so maybe I should change this. Instead of saying post meta, this is going to be post comments, right? And then I have my date and my category here, right? So, and there's a few other things you can put in here too. I'll save that and we'll test it out. Let me close this. Oh, look, there we go. So now here's my new title as an H1. Here's the date, and then here's the categories, and then there's the body of the post, right? Let's do a little bit more here. Maybe let's go get the text editor here. And, I just use paragraphs here, but you could use, another tag like a div or something, right? Let's talk about the time here for a minute. Okay, so the time, and here's a little note, just like an overview of what's happening inside here. When you're inside the loop, okay, there's a few tags, template tags in WordPress. That's these PHP tags. Remember, we made a big deal about those earlier, right? These template tags are PHP tags that work with the WordPress system. They have calls to functions defined in WordPress, right? These template tags, there's a whole bunch of them that can only be used inside the loop. And you'll see that on the WordPress documentation too. So if I go to WordPress, the codex, and I look up the content here, right, the WordPress codex, you'll see it says, displays the content of the current post. This template tag must be within the loop, right? So, all those words I'm using, those terms like template tag and the loop, I'm using those because that's the dialogue that they use and the terminology they're using in the WordPress codex to talk about, the whole WordPress system, right? So I'm using those words, so hopefully, when you read them here, you'll recognize them, right? So this is a template tag. It must be used within the loop. Okay, so that means that, it has to appear inside, this area right here. Okay. Now here's another little thing to notice, right? All of the tags that appear within the loop in WordPress, they always begin with the. Okay, there's maybe some that don't, but as far as I know, like most of the tags that deal with the content of a post that appear in the loop, they always begin with the. So there's the title, the time, the category, the content, comments number breaks the rule, and so does post class. But other than that, everybody else is following that rule. Okay, there's also the post thumbnail. Okay. So just keep that in mind, and that'll maybe remind you of what tag to use where. Let's talk about the date and time for a minute here. I have the date and time set up in this way. So it's essentially, I'm getting the date and time from the post, and then I'm using this string. They call this a format string to format the text. And then you can see here I'm doing exactly the same thing again with a different format string. And what, in my example, what this is doing is it's displaying the date and time as the full month, February, the number of the month or the date without a leading 0, lowercase j, and then the uppercase F is the ordinal suffix, so it's like th or nd or st or so it's that little extra couple letters that follow the number. Okay, so that's why it's here. And then the uppercase Y is the full year, all spelled out. Okay, and then we have the word at, right? So that's just printed right there, right? And then it says 10:30 or 10:13 p.m. and this is the hour. And then the colon just appears as a colon. And then the I is the minutes with a leading 0. And then the space, and then the A, lowercase a and PM gives you, or lowercase a gives you the lowercase a and PM, right? And how did I know that? Well, what I had to do is I had to look that up in, the codex again, right? All roads lead to the codex, right? So if I go to the codex and I look up the time, it's going to say, hey, this tag must be used within the loop, right? And then that says time, and then it's got D, and it says optional formatting string. So this is optional. You don't have to use it, but you can use it if you want. And then if you click on this link, it says see formatting date and time. If you go here, this will tell you what the format string characters are good for. So like this right here formats in this form, right? So L is the full name of the month or day of the week, right? F is the full name of the month, right? And you can look those values up here. So D is numeric with leading 0s for the day of the month. Lowercase j is numeric without leading 0s, right? And you can read through this whole list if you like and figure out what the formatting is, okay? So one more thing before we wrap this, this video up, okay? But the formatting also can be controlled within WordPress. So maybe, you might want to format the date and time yourself, but you may also want to give your WordPress blog user, like whoever's using the blog, you may want to give them the ability to format the date themselves, right? And you can do it this way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this second tag right here and just use the time once. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to delete the format string. So that's even simpler, right? I'm just going to say the time, right? And I'll save that. And then I'll refresh my page again. And wait patiently while it refreshes. And then this is my date and time. Hey, for some reason I don't think that that's quite right there, but we'll just go with it. So anyway, that should show us that what's the default time set in the admin panel. So how do we know what this default formatting is? I'm going to go to my dashboard here, right? And when I go to settings, general, right? Down here, you can see like this is the date format and the time format, right? Well, maybe because I put the time in there, maybe I got to get the date, right? I don't know. I think it should show me the date. But anyway, these are the default formatting. And then you can actually use a format string here if you choose custom, right? Maybe I'll do it like that, right? And so this gets the time format from WordPress, right? So, you know, if someone wanted to set the formatting themselves, if you use if you just use the tag by itself right here, then WordPress will print the format or print the time in the format that you have included here. Okay, and so that way it gives the blog user the opportunity to change the formatting to whatever they think fits their blog best. Okay, so anyway, so there's another example there for you on formatting the posts, right?